The Mishnah says, Homet nu get zel ishti. Now this is very important. There's a question in the Girsa, the text of the Mishnah. And our Mishnah, the way it reads, he says, Tnu get zel ishti. I mean, the get was written, and he says, give this get to my wife. Shtar shichru zel avdi. Umes. Then he dies. Lo yitnu lachem isa. Right? So we had the machloks of man the chachamim. If the shliach would have taken possession of the get, right? Everybody agrees. Until the woman receives the get, she's not divorced. Because it's a chov, because it's a detriment to the woman. So the shliach cannot take possession on behalf of the woman. So in a sense, if he dies before she receives it, she's not divorced. Ein mugareshes. Ain't get lachamisa. Because if she receives it after her husband dies, the get has no value. But what about regarding get shichrur? That we had a machlokes or man the chachamim, and the Mishnah says whether it's get isha or shtar shichrur, it says he's not emancipated. So seemingly, who's the Mishnah attributed to? It's going like Rameir. The Rameir holds that even emancipating a slave is considered a detriment. Therefore, until the slave receives it, he's not emancipated. So if the owner of the slave should die before the get arrives in his hand, is put in his hand by the shliach, the slave already is passed on to the estate, to the heirs. So who would we attribute the Mishnah to? Seemingly the Mishnah is going like Rameir, not like the Chachamim. It's an anonymous Mishnah. So to say a Mishnah is going like a Yochid, not like a Rabbim, and we rule like the Chachamim, it's a little bit of a dochik. But the Mishnah is stated anonymously. So Rashi addresses this, and Rashi says, Homet tenget zel ishti garsinon v'maslisin. The Ger says, give this get. What does that mean, give this get? That means the get, has already been written. Thank you. V'lo garsin tain. You know, the text doesn't read give, shlomoshim liyat shlich b'chayov. So he's saying he didn't actually give the get, he never put the get, Rashi learns, into the hand of the shliach. Shlomoshim liyat shlich b'chayov. Lefichoch lo nechul chachomim b'dover, lomar that since the shliach never took possession of the get when the owner, the master, was alive, and that subsequently he passes away, so he took possession of the get when? After the master, so ready, it's too late, right? Because the slave is no longer the master's, the man he was supposed to represent, and the wife is no longer the wife of the deceased. Okay. He did not take the actual get. No, the Chiddush is no. Exactly. Ain't get lachamisa. He was appointed to be an agent, so maybe now that he took the get, maybe
after he died,
he took it after he died. He took the get. That's where Rashi's learning. So the Mishnah is going not only according to Rameh, it's going according to the Chachamim. Everybody agrees in the Mishnah that the slave is not emancipated and the woman is not divorced. So that we mentioned the other day. There's a concept in get lachamisa. So Tosas explains that since the process was already activated, that he already appointed him as a shliach. The man he didn't take the get, but the person before he died, he already appointed. So this man who was appointed to be the agent, who does he represent? He represents the man who appointed him. Now subsequently he dies. So I would think that since he already is functioning as the agent, because he was appointed the agent, now he could take the get and give it, even though he died. Since the process regarding the get already has been put in place and the dynamic set in motion, maybe the get could be actually delivered even after he dies. So, wait. Same thing. Wait. No. It's the same thing. Wait a second. You can't. You can only represent somebody who lives. If he's no longer alive, you can't represent him.
Consider that once it's given to him, it's already out of the domain of the owner, and it's his.
Okay. That's the problem when you miss 3 days and you come on the 4th day, you know. Okay. We discussed this past few days. Okay. So Rashi, to establish the Mishnah that everybody concurs, both remain the Chachomim, the get was written, but the get was never taken, the Shlich never took possession of the get.
So the agency happened to be begun.
No, he is an agent.
Formally, there's no...
But he is an agent. He already has been designated as the agent. They would ask...
Man said, go get the get from my house.
No, I appoint you now to be the one to divorce my wife.
Yes, and the get
Wait. Before he goes take the get, what, at this moment, what does he represent vis-a-vis terminating this man's marriage? He is the husband. It's like a husband. Could a husband divorce his wife? The answer is yes. He's the husband. He just has to go get the get. Right? So over here, he's designated as the agent. He has to pick up the get and give it. Before he had a chance to retrieve, to take the get, the man dies. So I would say, since he already was appointed before he died to give the get, so he's already functioning, he's in the capacity of the husband. As the husband could give the get, maybe he'd give the get. The answer is, I would say, not Zochet, not Zochet. No, but...
become her representative.
No, it's a chov in either case.
I'm saying the first, the Eved, going to somebody.
I would say the same thing about the Eved.
But he can't do that until he becomes, at what point? As soon as he's appointed the agent
by the master.
By the master.
I would think even after he dies, that the mission says, no, it doesn't work. Doesn't work. Because everything shifts out, and once it shifts out, we're not saying, see, it's interesting. We say because ein get lachamisa, right? Because, as Rashi says, the slave no longer belongs to him. Why don't we say more simple? That if the man dies, you can't have you can only be a shlich if you represent someone. You're not representing anyone any longer. So it seems to be that's not a problem. You could represent something even after he dies. But factually, whatever he had or whatever he was able to affect, since he can no longer affect it, you no longer could affect it. Once he dies, he no longer owns the asset. So if once the asset passes out, if he'd be alive, he couldn't emancipate the slave. You being him, you can't emancipate the slave either. Because the laws of Yerusha come into being immediately the moment he dies. So the chiddush is, that's, you would think maybe that holds it in abeyance. The answer is no. The moment he dies, everything transfers out. The get itself does not function. You could be a shaliach, but the get, it seems to be, it's a halach in the get, or in the document. Doesn't say in shlich lachamisa, in get lachamisa.
So what's the difference whether the shliach has to get or not have to get? What's the difference?
If he took possession of the get before he died,
yeah.
So he took possession on behalf of the slave. Right. The master was still alive.
And then he died.
The slave's emancipated. The slave was emancipated before the master dies.
If the shliach had the get and the guy died, so the Eved
is freed. It's freed. But what Rashi says, it's speaking about he was appointed, but he didn't yet take the get. And by the time he takes the get, the master died. So if that's the case, when he wanted to take possession, the slave was no longer the master's. What?
Why is the slave freed if he's still alive when he gives the get to the agent?
Because
the agent is not the agent of the Eved.
No, again, we have a principle, Zochelon Shalabavonav, that I could assume the position of the agent as long as I do something which is beneficial for the person I want to represent, although it's unbeknown to him.
But you're not representing the
Wait a
slave,
second.
you're representing the
No, you can represent both. I'm the owner, now taking possession on behalf of the slave.
Is that the same with the divorce get?
Divorce get doesn't work because unless the woman specifically appoints you to be the agent, because it's a detriment. It's a detriment to be divorced. To be freed, it's something. It's a merit. It's beneficial.
Is there some, as a man can throw a get into a woman's domain, and it's effective. Domain.
Why?
Accepted.
Why?
Is there such a concept with a slave?
Same thing.
Well, how does he own anything?
No, so again, let's say be within his dollar amos.
So here's a case. A man...
A slave could own something.
A man throws a get into the dollar amos of a slave, and in flight, before it's arrived, the man dropped dead.
The master.
The master dropped dead.
Okay.
What has happened here?
He's not freed.
Okay.
So what's in that shliach then?
So why would I, if I can start with that, why would I ever think that a get that the agent hasn't even yet taken possession of is effective?
No, because the agent is the husband. The agent is the husband. It's as if the husband's still alive. There, when the get arrives within the domain of the slave or the woman, there's no husband.
When the slave arrives to take the get,
There's no
husband either.
You mean there's no master?
There's no master.
There is a master.
He's dead.
No, because the shliach represents the master. That's called a viable master. Because in his lifetime, you pointed him to be the master. So maybe that would be, hold it up, wouldn't allow it to transfer out of his domain.
Then my question is,
Because there's a representation of the master.
That's if you assume that the shliach is the full master, not the master.
Whatever it is, it doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference. The conclusion is either whatever way you want to call it. A tentacle or whatever you want to say. That's the difference between two cases. Where he throws the get, there is no master. By shliach, there is a master. So having a master alive, that allows the process to continue.
This is the case where the master is not alive.
No,
The master died before the shliach took possession.
no, but he was a shliach. He already was appointed to be a shliach. So he's an agent.
So why isn't... I don't understand how you would think that the agency is still effective.
It's supposed to be the other.
Why is the agency still effective in a case like this?
Within secular law. Secular law. Person gives somebody power of attorney before he dies. Does he act on his behalf after he dies? He does. But the man's no longer who you're representing. I'm representing the person who's no longer alive. The answer is because since he was appointed when he was alive, it's as if he's still alive. He transferred the power to him. So the concept of shliach shalom kamos means, since when he was alive, he transferred the power to him. He's the equivalent of being alive regarding this particular area to effect. Same thing.
my question,
The answer is it doesn't work. Within halach, it doesn't work. With anything it doesn't work. What is it going to work? But that's for a different reason. And there it had to take place in his lifetime. Right? If it's Matan Bari, the Gemara says it's Ma'amid Shloshim. Because even though he didn't make a kinyan, the transfer took place immediately when he was alive. What do you want to ask?
the question is that maybe when the Balabas gives it over to the shliach, that's when they're divorced, and that's when the slave is freed. If the action happens then.
No, it's not the same. The
When
husband...
you give it to them, it's done.
No. I give you money to buy me a piece of property, and the seller is not agreeable to sell till he receives the money. Is it a done deal? So good. The husband wants to divorce his wife. She has to receive it. She hasn't received it yet, so why is it? It's not completed. Okay. So that's the way Rashi learns. The reason why the Mishnah is able to go, even according to the Chachamim, although he pointed to be the agent and the get was written, because the agent did not yet take possession of the get. Right? That's how Rashi learns here.
It doesn't work.
And that's why it doesn't work. Before, we had the Gemara quoted our Mishnah, and Rashi learns differently than he explains here. Rashi says before, it says, regarding the get shichrur and the get of the Isha, it says, Lo yitn lach hamisa. It's worthwhile to take a look. Tesam and Beis, fourth Tosas from the bottom. Pirish Bekontris, you see it? Fourth Tosas from the bottom. Afilu Rabbon Adam Rischusu Le'evid. Even according to Chum who say it's beneficial to Evid to be freed. V'zochlon Mishlo B'fonov. And you're able to take possession on a person on his behalf. He says, although the person takes possession of it, that the master cannot retract, right? But the Chum are in agreement until he actually receives the get, he's not emancipated. That's what Rashi learns over here. Whole new concept. I represent the slave, but only to the degree that the master cannot retract. But when is he actually emancipated? When he receives it. So what happens if he dies? The master dies. Although the master can't retract, but actually the asset is no longer the master's because it was transferred to the children. So I mean, how does this work? And we'll see Tosa's question. He represents the slave only to the degree that the master can retract. In what way do you, if you're his agent, that means you actually possess the get. So if that's the case, he should be emancipated. Then that's Tosa's question on Rashi. Dvar Tema. Pirusha, he says, what he's saying is something which is not understandable. Kevon deschusu, if it's a merit, it's beneficial for the Evet. Pshita de zochel alter. He takes possession immediately. Kevon d'amrina gabi shichur tank his chi. Regarding emancipation, when you say, when the master says take it, it means you should take possession on his behalf. Kid Omer l'kamen come on. Okay, Rashi batzum chozabo. He says Rashi himself retracted. He retracted from this pshat. Shapir shel Kamani quotes Rashi, which we're just talking about, reading just this moment. Al mishnazu domer tenu garsinon v'lo garsinon get zeh. Either he says take a get, but the get wasn't. The get didn't exist. Shlo mosar li, or meaning shlo mosar liyara shliach b'chayov. He didn't give the get, put the get into the hand of the agent when he was alive, and the agent only took possession of the get after he passed away. Right? He's quoting Rashi, which we have here. Rashi over there comes up with a concept. You're only his agent, only to the point that the master cannot retract. So Tosa says, you can't go halfway. If I am the agent of the slave, and the slave took possession, so the slave should be emancipated. Why does it only get halfway? That's Tosa's difficulty. Okay?
So until, I mean, if the Baal is still alive, until the Eved actually receives it,
He's not emancipated.
So, because he could retract.
No, he can't retract. That's the way Rashi learns.
So he's saying no matter what, once the Shliach has it, there's no retraction because it's up in Shad.
Yeah, but Zochid is only to that point, not beyond that point. So Tosa says, but if he represents the slave, and he is the slave, so the slave received it. So if he received it, he should be emancipated immediately. How do you stop at that point?
So the answer is he can't.
But Rashi, what? The answer is
he can't retract.
The answer is if he took possession on behalf of the state, he is freed. So evidently you have to say he didn't take possession, as Rashi explains here. Right? But we'll see in a moment. The Rif learns exactly as Rashi learns over there. And the Rambam also. What about if the master gave it on the condition that I cannot retract, right? But he's not freed until he actually receives it. That was his intent.
How does that work with the Mishnah then? The Mishnah says if he dies, then he's free.
No, because the asset is not his. The asset is, meaning like this, I give it to you, you take possession on behalf of the slave. However, the effectiveness of that is not effective till he receives it. I'll give you, we had a case in Kedushin. We had a machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Shlokish. A man gives a woman money. Harei mekdashes lilacha shloshim yom. Okay? So the act of Kedushin is now, but the effect of the Kedushin will be 30 days. And before 30 days comes, the woman says, I'm not interested. She wants to back out. So it's a machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Shlokish, could she back out? Rabbi Shlokish says she cannot back out. Even though she wants to back out before the marriage is effective, since she took the money and it was in motion, lo osi dibur vatal maisa. Since there was an action done, you cannot undo that action with a retraction. That's Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan says that's not called an action because that action did not bring about any level of result. That's osi dibur vatal dibur. She could. But everybody agrees, let's say she would accept marriage from a third party before the 30-day period comes. She's married to the second person, not to the first person. Because factually, when he married her, the second party, she wasn't married. So when it doesn't make a difference, but when marriage can affect 30, it's affecting a woman who's already married. That's why it can't. She's not married.
Why would Rabbi Yochanan say that she couldn't get out of it?
Because an action, since she took it, words cannot undo an action.
But a guy marrying her can undo the action.
Because it's an action.
But that's the action.
Now she's a married woman. Before she's not. She's remaining single. I don't want to marry. But since you accepted the money, so the act of marriage is in motion to take effect, it will take effect. How do you stop it? It's like, the arrow's in flight, you can't retrieve the arrow. That's Rish Lakish. When he gives it to the shliach, because it's a merit, it's beneficial to the slave, he can take possession, he can represent him. But if, let's say the intent of the master was, but I don't want it to be effective until he receives it. That's the intent. To that point, yes. Beyond that point, not. So then, so when is he emancipated? So what happens if the master dies before? Right? It's like you shoot an arrow at a person and the person evades the arrow. The arrow may be in flight, but you missed its target.
If the master dies, why is
It's not his asset. Because it's not his asset any longer. The asset is transferred out of the estate.
Yeah, but no, it's the shliach. The shliach is...
No, but he told the shliach is only representing him regarding the action. It's like the master gave it to the slave, said, this should take effect in 30 days. And let's say the master dies before 30 days comes. Right? Is he emancipated in 30 days? He's not. Because the heirs, they inherit the asset in 30 days. The same idea. Just as over there, the master cannot retract. Once he gives him the get, shichru, to take effect in 30 days, he cannot retract, because he gave the get. Here also, so the slave, the shliach took possession on behalf of the slave. But if the intent of the master was that he doesn't want him to be emancipated till 30 days comes, right, when he said tain, because we see Tosas, he said the word tain, give it. So the effect he wants when it's given. But in terms of anything less than that, you could represent him. So regarding retraction, I can't retract. Regarding the effectiveness of the act, that's only once he receives it. That's what we're going to have to learn Rashi. Okay. Let's take... It's not relevant to Kedushin, because we rule like Rabbi Yochanan. They make a differentiation between get shichur and Kedushin.
In the case that you began, I don't think you answered the question. When the master says it's only effective when she receives it in her hand, or when the slave receives it, that is the condition. The agent has to fulfill that condition.
Good.
It doesn't matter that the agent is representing the slave. When he
Correct. But
it doesn't work.
Correct. But could he retract? Could the master retract? Can't retract.
En route.
En route, he cannot retract. You're right. He cannot.
He cannot retract.
Cannot. But what happens if the master dies before he actually fulfills that condition? Says it's not. It's no good.
Why can't the master not retract? Did he say that was the condition?
We're interpreting his words as that.
Is that?
It's as if he gave it.
He gave a vow.
Not a vow. Let's say.
He can't retract his words.
Wait. Not a vow. If he would give the get to the slave himself, and he would say, "I'm emancipating you, and it should take effect in 30 days." So the act of emancipation is now to be effective in 30 days. Now the master wants to retract. He can't retract.
But he died. He died.
Well, but see, that's not a retraction, because the slave, let's say the slave dies before 30 days come. Was he ever emancipated? There's no slave. So over here, there's no master. So if that's the case, there's nothing to emancipate. Same idea.
And if the man dies before the 30 days, the slave is still a slave.
He's a slave, but it's no longer his slave.
No, but he's a slave.
Of course he's a slave. Because who emancipated him?
The man cannot retract.
The master cannot retract.
Okay, because is it like a binding? It's like a binding agreement.
Exactly.
It's a binding agreement.
Right. Correct.
But when he commissions the agent,
Let's say,
it's
so
not
I
binding
sell you a
agreement.
piece of property. I sell you a piece of property to be effective in 30 days, and you give money, put money in everything.
change it.
You can't change. The seller can't.
That's
The exact same thing.
That's
The same thing. Okay. Let's see Tosas over here. Homit tenu get. Now the question is, did he say get zeh? Give this get, or he says give a get? And the get wasn't even written yet. Igasina ten get zeh. So that means he actually put the get in the man's hand. Ashim asis karameir, dafkas, then we have to say the mission is going to karameir. Because if he put the get shichur in the hand of the shliach, according to the Chachamim, he's immediately emancipated. If the text would read zeh, this get, I said something interesting. Afilu karabonon, go she'ena moshe miyad v'yad. It could go even go to Chacham. Let's say he doesn't actually put the get shichur in the hand of the agent. Elamareolo, he points out where it is. Umetzabe litno, vulo notlo ad lachamisa. That's Rashi, where Rashi learns, right? He gave him the charge, but by the time he took the get, Mest was no longer alive, right? So it's understood. Even the Chum agreed that it's nothing. Inami, that is interesting. Notla, he took it immediately. Afilo chalozocha evid. And he says, if the master puts the get into the hands of the agent, and he says, take it means take possession on behalf of the slave. So it's immediate. What if he didn't put it into the hands of the slave, of the agent? He says, take the get and give it to him. So because he didn't put it into the hand, although he took it before he passed away, yeah, not lo zocher eved v'nomad lo amin tein kizchi elok shemosa l'shlich miyad liyad. When do we say take it means take possession on behalf of the slave? That's only if I put it directly in your hand. V'ashminon b'may nokat zeh. So what does the zeh mean? He says take this get. The avogav shall get be'en, even though the get exists prior to his dying, v'roili no say b'shosei shliach, and it can be given in his lifetime, and the shliach is and the shliach took it. V'huskul kol kach michayim. The process, this is what we read, and the process is already in motion to such a degree when the master's alive. Maybe I'd say he'd be able to give the get even after the master dies. But it's not complete. He's not emancipated till the master dies. They get lachamisa. That's the chiddush. The agent is here. The get is here. Everything's in motion. So I would think maybe even if the master should die, it could be completed. Excuse me. Yeah, what do you want to say?
Because so are we saying then, if the master did not put it into the hand of the shliach, and the shliach instead picked it up from the corner, and then when he picked it up, the master dies, it's a difference then between whether he put it in his hand or he picked it
Correct.
up himself? Why? What's the difference?
If I put it directly in, let's say, it indicates an immediacy. Tain kizchi. When I say give it, I mean take possession on behalf.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, fine. Let's say the master gives to the agent, says, as much as you want to take possession on behalf, I don't want to be affected till he receives it. Let's say he would articulate that. So what is it? Could this agent take possession on behalf of the slave? No. Because he set the terms. The master set the terms.
Right.
You'll take possession, but it's only effective when you deliver it. Same thing. When does tain indicate take possession? When I put it in your hand. That is like an urgency. Give it. But if I didn't put it in your hand, it doesn't indicate the urgency. If that is the case, what did I mean? Give it. When you put it in his hand, he'll be emancipated.
I can create a case, Rabbi, where there is an intended urgency that doesn't fit. So, for instance, a man is in hospital. The get is in his hand, and he says to the agent who's in the hospital, "I will emancipate my slave. Go home, get the get, deliver it to him."
Okay.
The sick man on his deathbed knows or intends that if I had the get with me in the hospital, I would want this to be immediate.
There, the circumstance maybe will indicate it's immediate. But
the man died.
Wait, no. As much as the statement indicates urgency and immediacy, but if he doesn't take possession of the get, the slave, by the time he takes the slave's not a slave any longer. That's understood. Here the chiddush is, even if he's still alive, he takes possession when the master's still alive.
Yes.
So maybe he's taking possession on behalf of the slave.
No.
The answer is, unless he puts it in his hand, he does not take possession on behalf of the slave.
In this particular case, if the master was still alive when the agent arrived in his home to get the get, The moment he takes the get, it would work.
In your case,
Yeah.
with the hospital, there would work.
There it would work.
Where it would work.
He wouldn't have to put it
But
in
under
his
normal
hand.
circumstances,
How would it work there?
because the whole idea is, tain normally, if you put it as we say, it means, saying that take it means take possession on behalf.
Yeah.
That's, okay, that I give, tain, give, it doesn't mean that. It means give it to him. When? When he receives it. Not take possession on his behalf. So let's say I would have some other indicator, although he didn't put it in his hand, that that's his intent. So it would be the same thing. So the moment he takes possession, he's taking possession on
What's
behalf.
the best have to do, or can you send a shliach and put it in the shliach's hand? Can a guy say, listen, I'm going to send this guy to get the get to put in your hand the shliach?
Okay.
That's-
Come here, you want to talk about scenarios, we've talked about it from now forever.
But rather, just coming back now, the discussion we were having is it possible that there can be some level of agency after the man who commissioned the agent dies? That's the question we were dealing with. All right, so in this particular case that we just described here, we don't even have to get to that, because the moment the agent took the get, the man was still alive, it works. But if the man said, it's only effective when the slave receives it, if the man dies while the agent is en route, it still doesn't work, because the condition hasn't been fulfilled.
And therefore what? So why is he not emancipated?
Because
Is it because the agent is not an agent, or because the slave is not a slave?
No, it's because the condition hasn't been fulfilled.
And therefore, okay, good.
The condition hasn't been
I
fulfilled.
understand that. Well, no, but he's giving it to him. He does it, he gives it to him after he dies.
So
So that's the condition that's being fulfilled. He did give it to him, but it came too late.
It came too late.
So what's the problem coming too late? Is it, it's an issue of agency, or it's an issue, the asset's no longer yours?
I would say the latter.
Okay? No. That's a chiddush. Right? They all say because the slave is no longer his slave. So it seems to be,
So
what do we say more simple? You cannot be an agent unless you represent a person. If the person dies, you're no longer representing anyone. But it doesn't say that. So it seems to be you could represent somebody after he dies, but it's totally ineffective because although you're representing him, but he possesses nothing. Therefore, your action is totally ineffective. It's like you want to affect something after you sold it. You can't affect it any longer.
But even if you say that there is agency after death, there's another problem, and the problem is that the slave is no longer in his domain.
Exactly, and that's the reason why it says.
So you don't
he's-
have to get to the other reason. You don't have to discuss the other concept about whether agency exists after death. Even if it does, it doesn't work.
Wait a second, I understand, but that's the most simple thing to say. What do we have to talk about the asset? The moment the man dies, you represent no one. We don't even have to talk about the asset. You understand? It seems to be that a person can represent something after he dies, but it's totally irrelevant. It's irrelevant. You know where it's irrelevant? It'll be relevant by a divorce, right? If you say if a man could represent something after he dies and he gives a person a get and then he dies before she receives the get, not wishes he, right? Maybe what?
No, it's the same as the slave.
No.
She's a widow.
No.
He died before she received the gift. She's a widow.
How does the master put the get in the shliach's hand?
It doesn't work.
It's a detriment.
That doesn't work. You never have to get to that. It's the same.
Put it this way. Let's say she's a Yavama.
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 Okay.
So if there's a Yavama, there is a remnant of his relationship which is taken over by the brother. So there's something viable there which represents him. So maybe if he could represent him after he dies, let him terminate that.
See, even in that case, I would say the only one who has the power to release that woman once the brother is dead is the living brother. He's the only one that can release her. That's what
That
the
way,
Torah
but
says.
if you say you could represent someone even after he dies, so the shliach of the husband should be able to terminate that relationship, and therefore there's nothing for the brother to take over.
Divorce.
So Rashi in Ksuba says, why is it not effective? It says because Eina Mesim Megarshim, a person once he dies cannot terminate a marriage, not because he can't be a shliach. You're representing a person who died. So who's actually terminating the marriage? Man who died. There's no such thing as a man who died terminating a marriage.
Okay, so we'll come back.
No, so we're saying agency, you're an agent. But who are you representing? A dead man. A dead man cannot terminate a marriage. So therefore your action is totally ineffective.
So we come back and say it is possible, theoretically.
To be an agent, a person, even after he dies, but it's not relevant. It's not applicable in
It's not
any.
relevant. It
It's not relevant not for assets, and not in regard to marriage.
We can't find a case.
Exactly. There's no case.
The agency doesn't extend to the estate of the brother.
Correct.
Even with the Yavama, it doesn't work.
But it's just the question, why doesn't it work? That's what we're discussing. Okay, we have just a few moments. Okay, let's get back to but the Mishnah yet says, Tenu monolish ploni umes. A person says, give $100 to so-and-so, umes, and he dies, yid lachamiso. You do give it even after he dies. So the question is, what's the difference between the slave and the what? And the $100. The moment he dies, the money also passes on. Omer Rav Yitzchak bar Shmuel bar Marso, Mishmei de Rav. Rav Yitzchak bar Marso, Shmuel bar Marso says, name a Rav, Vushet Svurim Menochem Bekeren Zovis. When do you give the money, although he died? If he spoke about a specific pile of money, the money was gathered in the corner, he says that money should be so-and-so, so that $100 so-and-so. Now the question is, how did it transfer? Unless the recipient took possession, what happens to it, to the money? It should go, it's part of the estate. If it was the charge of a bori, he was healthy. The man who said, let the $100 belong to so-and-so. Although they were identified, they're piled up, the man never took possession of the money. The man's on his deathbed. And again, a man on his deathbed, if he feels that his wishes are not being addressed, that level of being upset could hasten his death. Therefore, the Chacham said, although no action was done, and there was no instrument of transfer, his words are the equivalent of the instrument of transfer. Whatever his wishes are, it happens immediately. So what does the money have to be piled up and identified? Nami, even if it's not gathered in one location. His words itself, why? We rule. The words of a person on his deathbed, it's as if it's written and given over, signed and sealed. So why did the Rab say the money has to be identified and piled in a corner? We're speaking person's healthy, so the question was, but he never took possession. Could Rav Huna, Amar Rav, as Rav Huna said in Rav, the Amar Rav Huna Rav, monali biotcha. Person says, I have $100 of yours, teneo lo leploni, and give it to so and so. We'll continue tomorrow here.